So I would like to introduce Anna with Build Safe Escrow. One of the biggest issues that clients have contractors have with clients is building trust. That is the most valuable thing you can do. And there's usually very few things you can do to build trust. You can show up on time, you can tell the truth, you can do what you say you're going to do. But there's a general, for lack of a better term, distrust of contractors in the industry merely because of whatever history, advertising. It just, hasn't worked out that great for contractors. So very seldom do you find a way that you can actually build trust with your clients other than showing up on time and doing what you say. I think Anna has a way to do this even more than what you're doing now. So I'd like to introduce Anna with Build Trust Escrow and show you a tool that you can use that actually helps you build trust with your clients, which is the most important thing you have with your clients. So Anna, tell them how this works, okay?
Thank you so much, Paul. First of all, thank you. And thank you to your team also to hosting this event. Today, I'll show you how you can start using escrow as your advantage tool to win more jobs, grow your business, and build stronger relationships with homeowners, vendors, subcontractors. The truth is that the construction market is crowded. Every contractor says the same thing. We do quality work. We are reliable. We're affordable. Same pricing, same promises, same pitch. So to a homeowner, it all starts to blend together. Every bid looks identical. And when everyone sounds the same, no one really stands out. But here's the thing. So the moment a homeowner hears something different, you have their attention. You can post on social media, use digital tools, AI, advertise your services just like everyone else. But none of that truly sets you apart. What really sets you apart is trust and peace of mind. So when you offer peace of mind, you tell the client your funds are protected in escrow. You'll never lose a dollar to risk or confusion. So you instantly separate yourself from the crowd. You're not just selling construction anymore, you're just selling confidence. And that's what we're going to show you today. We love we have this analogy in the office, which is, I think it's perfect to summarize what escrow is. A seatbelt. You wouldn't drive without a seatbelt. So no one should start a renovation or construction project, big or small, without escrow. It protects every payment in an FDIC insured account until work is complete, keeping projects on track and reducing disputes. At Build Safe Escrow, we bring over a decade of escrow experience from the real estate world into the construction world, which is an industry that needs the same level of trust and protection, maybe a little more. For too long, escrow has been seen as something too formal, maybe too complicated, too expensive, and we're here proving it's not. We started hearing from contractors who wouldn't collect their final payments. They were having so many issues collecting that last payment. And since then, we've helped hundreds of professionals win more bids, earn client trust, and grow their businesses.
Yep. Anna, I'd like to interrupt for a second. I've worked in construction for 50 years. The biggest problem over all those years with all those contractors is getting paid at the end. And this definitely solves a huge problem because a lot of guys, what happens is you're dealing with somebody who has more money and more power than you do. You finish a construction job and they say, see me in court or whatever. And it's never fun. And they go, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. So it's almost impossible to collect if they don't want to pay. And I think this is a real solution for that.
Exactly. And the amount of contractors asking for a solution for that last payment, it's incredible. And that last payment, even if it's 10%, whatever it is, just completely throws out everything that they did and completely crumbles the whole business. It's a reality. And what, like you were saying, the construction industry runs on trust from both sides. Yet it's one of the least protected financial environments out there. Everyone is exposed to everything. Every year, millions of dollars move hands based on vague contracts and verbal promises. And when something goes wrong, there's little to nothing either side can do besides losing money, losing time, losing peace of mind, everything. Lawsuits are expensive and can take months, even years, and maybe you never see your money back. And liens, we know that they're not guaranteed to get your money back. So meanwhile, contractors are caught in a horrible domino effect. They need payment from project A to finish project B, and then they can't collect because client C is still not paying. So it's just a mess. They leave everybody unpaid, their employees, their vendors. It's just a whole horrible effect.
I know that's the biggest problem, because what happens is at the end, the client will say, well, I don't like the color of the tile, or some whatever excuse they've got not to pay. And then you have the dilemma of, okay, they owe you 10,000, they owe you, 100,000, but they owe you money. You say, well, how am I going to collect? And it's almost never worth suing the person to get the money, because you'll probably lose.
Exactly.
And so therefore, unfortunately, when you're building a project, and let's say there's 10% net profit in the whole project, if you lose the 10% of the end, you might as well have not done it, because you lose your whole profit. So this is the
Exactly.
solution to that problem.
Exactly. You lost your time, you lost everything. And then it's a domino effect. You have to get another project to pay your employees. It's just a whole mess. And that's it's not sustainable, really. Every contractor knows this truth. No matter how well you plan, a project depends on others more than on you. Like we just said, you rely on homeowners to fund their projects and to actually have the funds that they promised, and vendors to deliver materials on time, subcontractors to show up, inspector to pass work. I mean, it depends on everybody but you. And we all know that any of those links can break overnight. And we have so many examples. We have homeowners that in the middle of the project have, you know, face an emergency and they lose everything. They get sick, and they have an emergency and they have to use the funds elsewhere. Or we have cases where we have a trusted contractor that has been in the business for 20, 30 years doing the right thing, and then something happens. So we have this saying of, you're honest until you're not. Everybody's honest until they're not. Something
Right.
happens.
One of the things that shows up is you never buy a house without putting in escrow, right? It's
Exactly.
what you do. But yet all of your projects, there's no escrow. So you're totally at risk of the client paying, of people doing what they say. And unfortunately, in doing this many years, the biggest problem with contractors is not getting paid.
Exactly. Or even paying on time, because they can chase invoices for months, until someone gets paid, and that's not a good way of doing business. It's just not reliable for anybody. And like we said, anything can happen during a project. It's not a transaction that you give money and that you get something back. It's a transaction that lasts months, and there's so many links that can break during these projects.
Question, Anna, what if I have my subcontractors on the same thing, right? They get paid out of escrow?
Yes, so we can definitely do that. We have projects that are so simple that we pay the contractor and the contractor pays everybody, or we have projects where we pay directly the vendors, we pay directly the subcontractors. So it really depends, but it's really what your business needs are. If you want us to just, pay your subcontractors directly and you don't want to deal with that, we'll do that. And if you want us to pay your vendors directly, your purchase orders from Home Depot, we can do that. So it really is depending what you need.
Then I have a question. So one big problem is people say they have the money and they don't, right? They say, "Oh, no problem. I've got the money in savings. I'll pay you when I feel like it." And in this way, I assume the money goes into escrow, so you don't start a job until you know you got the money. Is that accurate?
Correct. That's exactly what it is. And we have projects that are funded in one stage at the beginning, or we have people that say, listen, no, I'm going to get the money once in 2 months or something. So we break the project into different milestones, and the contractor doesn't start one or doesn't get materials for that stage until those funds for that stage are in escrow. So they're really never going to lose any work done or completed or any materials or anything for work that they didn't do.
Now, and I have a question. How small a job? I mean, I can see doing things on a $300,000 job, But what if it's only a $50,000 job? Do you do things that small, or do you have a limit on size?
Yes, no, we created a service that is tailored for everybody. We do $12,000 bathrooms renovations, or we do $1 million house renovations. So it really depends on what you need. For us, the complexity comes on the amount of draws of payments that will go out, if there are any liens that we need to send to the subcontractors and to everybody involved. So it really depends on the project needs, but we have worked with very small projects.
No question. I'm sure they're thinking in their mind, well, what does this cost? You're going to get to that later, or can you tell us now?
Yes, I'm gonna get to that later, and there's a
Okay.
special offer for our viewers and the people that are in this webinar, and so they can try escrow, because we know that once we get calls from contractors wanting to are having issues collecting that last payment, and then once they work with us and they know how easy it is, they just start working with us from the beginning. So I'll get to that later.
Okay, great.
Hanging there. So back to what we're saying. There was a time in the real estate world where escrow wasn't involved, and there were so many scams happening, and so many disputes, and so many things over who owned what property, and or
I'm sure the attorneys loved it, right?
exactly. The more problems, right? But now we're transferring these philosophy into the construction industry, and all the forward thinking professionals are leading the change by bringing this structure into their payment process. So I'm going to explain to you how it works in a very general way. Funds are deposited into an escrow account at the start of the project, whether that's a full amount or in stages divided in milestones. And as each milestone is completed, payment is released. So the contractor will know if they'll finish the milestone on Friday, they'll get paid that same day. We Escrow removes the guesswork, the chasing, the waiting, the risk. It means no more relying on someone's word, no more filing liens that are not taking you anywhere, and no more wondering when you will get paid. What it gives you instead is clarity, it's confidence and control of your business, and that is the new standard.
And I would like to admit that your contract does not help. You have the world's best contract, but if they say, see me in court, you're done. I mean, you can't enforce it. So having the world's best contract is not going to guarantee you get paid. This is the
No,
only way I know of guaranteeing you're going to get paid.
exactly. And you know what? Everybody thinks they have the best contract, and we've read the worst contracts. They're so vague. They, even if they think and all the contracts are very contractor side, but at the end they're so vague, and that they don't stand a day in court. And
You
we've
know,
seen this every day.
an example, I know I had a client, and the client owed them, like, I don't know, $300,000 at the end. And there was some law in California that they overlooked somewhere, and the client hired a really good attorney and literally got out of paying 300,000 because the contractor didn't follow some obscure rule in California that he should have. And so what happened is they lost out on 300. I'm sure the attorney got paid like 100,000 to do the lawsuit, but
For
they
sure.
didn't get paid because they missed some obscure little thing in California. And the fact is, you can't know all the rules. There's no way that your contract's going to work, because it's only as enforceable as the money behind it. So if your client has more money and better attorneys than you will definitely lose, no matter how good your contract is.
Exactly. And like I said, those contracts are dinosaurs. They were written and someone copied them. It's not something, unless you have this huge company that you have your own attorneys working in house. We've seen it all. So I don't think they're very strong contracts. They don't protect anybody at the end.
And generally, your client has more money than you. They say, well, I can either pay the last 50,000 or take it to court. I'll take it to court because it's cheaper. It doesn't have anything to do with
See.
ethics. So assuming that all your clients are ethical is probably not the world's best assumption.
Exactly. And also, they might be ethical, you know, they might be the most honest person in the world, but then something happens. And that's why we're all honest until we're not. Something can happen to any of us, and can an emergency, a divorce, a lawsuit, something that can happen that can divert those funds that we had allocated to the
Well,
construction
I
project.
give you an example. I remember when the crash of whatever it was 2008, and also the pandemic thing.
They,
What
yeah,
happened is everybody said, I'm just not going to pay you because I lost my job. We're not going to pay you because of whatever reason they came up with. And all of a sudden, you were out $100,000 and you couldn't do anything about it. And
exactly.
people lost millions during those kind of crash cases. Oh, my portfolio went down. I can't afford to pay you anymore. Like it's my problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. But then you have to move on. You have to move on, but that's it. It's a loss. And for that, for people, sometimes that loss mean they're going to bankruptcy. That's it for them, you know? So it's a really tough environment, and it moves so many millions of dollars, and it's just crazy how there's not a structure out there.
And it's probably going to get worse because I can see some clients saying, well, the guy took longer than I thought. I'm going to go to ChatGPT and use AI to get a quick lawsuit to sue this guy. And,
Exactly.
and it's way cheap. I mean, ChatGPT is basically free. So you can go to ChatGPT and say, prepare me a lawsuit against this guy because I don't want to pay him. And you're sort of done. So it's getting easier and
Exactly.
easier not to pay because AI is making the average person have an attorney he normally couldn't afford.
Exactly. And when people don't want to pay, they're gonna look for the smallest thing just to hold on to and not pay.
Right. I mean,
And
I have a question. How do you, let's say you have a client and you finish remodel and they go, well, the paint doesn't look exactly the way I wanted to, or, the drywall, I see a couple cracks in the dry, or some dumb thing. How do you mitigate between the client and the contractor to ensure they get paid?
so here's the thing. When the funds are no longer in anybody's court, they're in right in the middle, right? Suddenly people start getting more friendly with everybody. So before, if a customer would say there's a small crack that I can only see, only 2% of the population can see that small crack, and I'm not going to pay you, then suddenly they know that their funds are not longer in their hands. So they're not going to be so difficult about everything. And and the agreement has to be very clear, even sometimes, okay, how much, what's the brand of the paint that they're going to be applying. If they have a difficult customer, then the agreement has to name exactly what the expectations will be. And then there's really no disputes. There's really the dispute mitigation it's really it's harder for them to hold on to something
Right.
ridiculous to deny payment,
Well, sure. If you look at the escrow in houses, very few closings are held up in escrow because some client says, well, you didn't tell me about, the crack on the bathroom floor. They
Exactly.
escrow make sure that people are honest and they come through, and there's a indifferent third party that gives you an accurate, not way to see. Because otherwise, whoever has the money has the control, right?
Exactly.
So if the client has
Exactly.
money and say, I'm not going to pay you, see me in court, you're sort of done. I mean,
Exactly.
unless you want to sue them, which is never very practical.
Or unless you want to file a lien, but you're never going to see that money unless
But
they sell their property.
again,
And
your lien's only as good as your ability to enforce it. And then you
exactly.
file a lien, and it may take a year to get your money because
Even more. Yeah.
it's really bad. So I would say you Ann, are addressing the biggest problem in construction, which is not getting paid and having a third party that makes sure that everybody comes to the table honestly and forthrightly, and somebody else has the money. I mean, the other side doesn't work either, because when the contractor has the money and the client's trying to get it, goes, well, then it's sort of the other way around, right? Because
Exactly.
then the client says, well, you got my money and I haven't got a fair, you don't use, I already gave you the money to whatever, drywall the house, you haven't drywalled it yet, you hold my money, and it's a mess either way, right?
Exactly. It's just you start shaking hands, you start the project super happy. And once money starts flowing and work starts happening or not happening, then that's it. Everybody's mad at each other. It's just a tough process to be so reliable on trust on verbal contracts, on verbal whatever. So it's just there needs to be a structure, there needs to be someone, a referee, making sure that the project is done correctly and on time, and contractors get paid on time, and there's subcontractors and everybody involved.
So how many contractors have you worked with? I'm just curious. You worked with a lot that's worked out for, right?
Yes. So like I said, when they first reach out to us, most of them they're having issues collecting that last payment. And they're having issues. They started when they come to us the first time, mostly they have an issue. They have a difficult client that doesn't want to pay the last payment, or they have a difficult client and they paid and they don't want to pay because they want them to close the permit or do a
Right.
bunch of things before handling that money, and they're scared because they think if they finish or if they do this, they're never going to see those funds.
Right.
And once we work with them, then they start offering that to other customers as an option. And we start working with them from the beginning, and it makes it so much easier. And I'll get to that in a little bit, how it improves their businesses more than anything, because now
Okay.
they learn how to quote or how much a project will be, because then before it was just a mess. It was just guessing how much a bathroom would cost or something like that.
Okay.
So let me see. In these slide, we have the flow of how escrow would look in a construction or renovation project. It begins with a like I said, like very clear agreement outlining the milestones and payment points, and then the homeowner funds the escrow account, like we've said, either in full at the start or in stages before each stage begins. And it depends on the project size and what both sides agree to. Those funds are held securely. No one can touch them until work is complete. As milestones are completed, documentation confirms the progress and payment is released directly to the contractor or the subcontractors if needed. And this flexibility allows smaller projects like bathroom remodels to be funded up front, while larger renovations or larger builds can be funded in phases. And at project completion, we either lien waivers are collected if needed, all funds are properly disbursed, and both sides walk away protected and happy. That's the idea of escrow. We put just to answer to your question earlier about if we do smaller projects. So I wanted to show for us a smaller project, a $15,000 remodel or a $50,000 bathroom remodel is the same, because it has, in average, and that's what we've dealt with, 5 draws, 5 payments, no matter how much is the project total. But this is like an example of what we see average, 5 draws. Each project has 5 milestones that guide the progress and payments. Both homeowners deposit the funds in escrow. For example, once demo and raw fins are complete, escrow releases the second draw. Then when waterproofing and tile are done, the third draw follows. And you understand the process. And this shows just how escrow fits every project size, from a modest bathroom update to a full luxury remodel. And it's not about how much the property owner spends, it's just about protecting every dollar and keeping both sides accountable. And escrow just gives every project the same foundation: clarity, structure, and trust. We have here another example, and this is like a 10, just to scale up, this is a $250,000 remodel to a $1 million custom home. 2 very different projects, yet both of them follow the same exact escrow structure. They have 10 clearly defined milestones. And this is just an example because we have $1 million projects that only require 3 draws. So it really depends on what the project itself and the contractor and the property owner want. But this is just an example of the projects that we deal with and the average amount of milestones that we have per project. And when you organize it in this way, for contractors, it means everything. It means consistent cash flow across months-long projects without borrowing from one job to fund another. And of course, for homeowners, it ensures that every dollar is tied to real visible progress. I wanted to show this example of when things go wrong and what happens when things go wrong and there's escrow in place. Because like I said, we're the seatbelt. It doesn't mean that we're not going to get into a crash, but if we do, at least we're protected. And that's the idea that I wanted to show you behind this slide. In construction, we see that about half of the projects that go wrong do so because someone missed the red flags, right? Maybe poor planning, bad vetting of the contractor, or bad vetting on the property owner, unclear contracts, vague contracts. But the other half, however, they fail for a very different reason. And that's because just life happens. Things no one could predict or control happen. And let's see, for example, these stories, same project, same contractors, same expectations. On the first version, there's no escrow. The homeowner pays as they go, milestone by milestone. Everything is on track until tragedy strikes. Let's say midway through the project, the homeowner passes away unexpectedly. So what happens if there's no escrow? The contractor had finished the work, but the payment hasn't been made yet. So that's it. There's no one's going to pay him. The remaining funds of the family are frozen in probate. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months. I mean, it's a whole mess. The contractor loses tens of thousands of dollars and valuable time. And there's nothing they can do. Not because anyone did anything wrong. It's just because something that wasn't controllable happened. Life changed overnight. And in the same example, what happens if escrow was in place? The homeowner, they start the project, the homeowner dies. And fortunately for the contractor, they had finished, let's say, 7 milestones, and he had been paid for those 7 milestones. So what happens is he doesn't start the 8th milestone and he just walks away from the project, and that's it. He got paid for what he worked, for the work that he done. His employees got paid, his subcontractors, his vendors, and unfortunately there's nothing else to do. And the remaining funds, either if there are any remaining funds, they stay safely, or if they need to be paid out to the contractor, they're paid out. But there's no lawsuits, there's no blame, there's no loss. It's just, like we said, escrow doesn't stop tragedy, but if it happens, it just protects both sides.
Right.
And I wanted to do the same thing, but on the contractor story. And this is based on a real story that of a customer that hired us because he had a similar story to this one. In the let's say this pool project divided into 5 draws, the contractor completes the 2nd draw and then tragically passes away. Without escrow, the homeowner is left stranded with a construction mess in their backyard. There's no real record of payments. He was the business owner, so the family is still, healing from the tragedy. Nobody knows about anything. Nobody knows the bank accounts. The business bank accounts are frozen by the state. I mean, it's a whole mess. The homeowner loses money, months of progress. The contractor's family inherits not just grief, but lawsuits, refund demands. I mean, confusion. It's a whole problem. And now the same story, but with escrow in place. The story changes completely. The homeowner had funded the project in full into escrow. The contractor had finished the 2nd milestone and had been paid for that. And then he passes away. The homeowner can pause, the money is still safe in escrow. It was only paid for the work that was completed. No one's owed anything. And then they can rehire a new contractor and continue from the escrow account. And it's just a simple system built for life's unpredictability. That's all. This slide, it's about two contractors, one different. So let's take a look at this example. Both are, let's say, two contractors, both are skilled, reputable, both are offering the same price for a renovation project. The difference, one includes escrow and the other doesn't. Contractor A explains that all funds will be safely held in an FDIC insured escrow account and only released when milestones are complete. And then contractor B says, don't worry, I've been doing this for years. You can read my reviews. You can trust me. And now imagine you're the homeowner. After hearing so many horror stories out there online, on the news, neighbors, unfinished jobs, contractors disappearing with their life savings, who would you choose? Of course, you would choose the contractor that is offering that peace of mind, they would go for that. They would go for trust. They would go for transparency. They would go for peace of mind. We've talked about what escrow does. Now let's look at what it really creates for your business, for the contractor's business. Over 70% report winning more jobs. Like I said, we start working with contractors that are desperately in need for a solution for that last payment. And then we start working with them from the very start of the next projects. And they say that because when they offer that option, just as an option, immediately they become trusted. The average project value increases more than 30% because now they attract higher end clients who demand more transparency and accountability. And cash flow becomes predictable. No more waiting weeks for payments or borrowing from one project to fund the other one. Escrow releases funds automatically once milestones are completed. Disputes drop dramatically because everyone, the contractor, the homeowner, the vendors, see the same verified progress in payment records. And one of the biggest benefits we've seen, contractors using escrow build stronger relationships with their vendors and subcontractors. So now the vendors that know that the money is there, that the money is safely held in a neutral account, they know that they will get paid. So they work with those contractors faster and better. And that's just a reality. Another major shift happens behind the scenes. Contractors finally learn how to quote jobs properly. And this is something that when we talk to our clients, it's something crazy. They now know exactly when they quote a job, they're probably doing it because an average, they're trying to meet with the competition. They're trying to, and now after they use escrow, they know exactly how much they're spending per project, and that gives them a completely different look in their business. And of course, the most overlooked of the benefits is time savings. Contractors spend less time chasing invoices, coordinating payments, because subs and suppliers can be paid directly with escrow. And with every transaction automatically documented, it's just easier for their business. Here I wanted to show you where everything comes together. Escrow isn't just about protecting homeowners from bad contractors, and that's what we say all the time, or contractors from bad clients. It's just a neutral system of protection for the whole project that works for everybody involved in the project. On one side, when tragedy strikes a homeowner, like the renovation example I said earlier, or the contractor doesn't lose what they've earned, payments for verified work are secure and the remaining funds are frozen fairly for the state. On the other side, when something happens to the contractor, like in the pool project I gave you earlier, the homeowner doesn't lose their life savings. The funds stay in escrow untouched, and they can bring another professional to complete the work. Both sides and all sides are protected. No one loses everything because of something no one could control. That's the heart of what we do. At Build Safe Escrow, we stand for fairness, for transparency, and really for safety for everyone involved. One of the things that we have created recently is the escrow-friendly contractor list, because we keep getting phone calls from property owners asking us for referrals, or asking us, who do we know of a contractor in their state, in their city, who is willing to work with an escrow account. So that's why we decided to create an escrow-friendly contractor list. Homeowners aren't just looking for the lowest price now. They're looking for security, for structure, for professionals that they can trust with their money and their project. When homeowners see that there's an escrow-friendly contractor, that makes them stand out completely. They immediately know two things. One, that they operate with transparency and accountability, and two, that their funds and their payments will be safe, and that the work will be done. At the end, a homeowner just wants, if they hire for a bathroom, if they hire someone from a kitchen, they want the work done. That's all. and that's as simple as it is. So if there's a contractor out there and they want to stand out, they can join the free list. They can gain visibility in front of property owners who are actively searching for reputable professionals. Once they join this is a free list that once they join, they'll find practical tools, proposal templates, how to approach a customer, a client with the idea of escrow, marketing materials for their social media, for their website, and just simply a lot of resources that can help them present escrow as part of their brand and as part of their professionalism. Like I said, it's completely free to join, but more importantly, this is more than a list. It's a movement of forward-thinking professionals. This is the new standard, and they cannot think, oh, we've never done this before. That was before, but this is the new standard. This is the new movement. And about pricing, Paul, that you had mentioned earlier.
What does it cost? That's a good question.
So like I said, I would say 99% of the customers, the first-time customers, are because they're already in a big issue, in a big problem with a project, right?
Right.
They're already losing money and time, and they're desperate, and they look for a solution, and they're calling us. Once they go through that, and once they know how it works, they come back and they start working with us from the beginning. So we have a very special offer for just $99 for every contractor out there to try our service. Our team will
So
go ahead.
they're at this webinar or they watch this webinar somewhere else, as long as they go through the webinar, that whether it's, on social media or someplace else, then they still get the $99, right?
Yes. So once so how they can activate their offer is just go through that QR code on the screen, and they'll put their names, and that's it. That will be activated for them, and they can try the service at the
Now,
lowest fee that we could find.
What if it's a $400,000 project or a $50,000 project? It's still $99 for the first one?
Exactly. It doesn't matter. It can be a $1 million project. It doesn't matter. What we would offer with those 99, it's up to 5 draws, up to 5 milestones, up to 5 payments for the contract.
Okay, now this brings up the question: what does it cost? What does it normally cost? How do you charge people after this?
So normally it's a $4.99 service up to 5 draws. So for example, for back to the pool service, for the pool project, it was 5 draws. It's $499. It includes us preparing the escrow agreement. It includes us coordinating between the customer and the contractor, making sure that the milestones are clearly outlined in the contract. No matter how much for us, it doesn't really matter matter how much the project is. It just means our level of involvement. So up to 5 draws is $499, and then up to 10 draws is $1,000, and then from there it goes up.
What's interesting is that, as far as I know, these kind of these attorneys that specialize in this are $500 an hour anyway, right? So it's
Exactly.
1 hour of an attorney's time.
Exactly. And you know what's so funny? The reason why escrow wasn't used before for small projects in construction, it's because it was so expensive. Attorneys charge, and again, we have an attorney in-house, and we're attorney-led company, but usually what they do is they charge a percentage of the project. And when you're talking about $1 million project, that's a lot of money for just holding funds.
Right.
And that's it. So we're offering a bigger thing here, a bigger service of project managing.
Right.
We're just like babysitters for the whole project. We're a referee for the whole project, and that's
way
valuable.
than an attorney, for sure.
For sure. So we wanted to present this offer. I mean, we couldn't make it simpler for even the most spectacle, contractor to just try that in their next project.
To me, if you're not using this for $99 to assure you get paid, it's a no-brainer to me, because
exactly,
that's, at least try it, because to see how it works. And I think you could hopefully basically change the industry in a lot of ways, because the biggest problem is not people not getting paid. And I think you solve that problem if they follow this process.
And it's simple, and the reason we're offering this is because people hear the word escrow and they think it's complicated, it's attorney.
Right.
No, it's simple. It's just holding your funds safe and making sure you get paid on time every time, and that's it.
So if after this webinar people want to get a hold of you, how do they reach you, Anna?
So they can go to our website, www.buildsafeescrow.com. They can email me directly, Anna, just one N, at buildsafeescrow.com. They can call us 855-611-3532. I put in the screen, there's all the QR codes. If they want to try Build Safe Escrow for $99, they can sign up. Even if they don't have a project right now lined up, they can just sign up, activate the offer, and once they do have a project, we'll help them with that.
Right.
And the other one is join the escrow network. When we have a property owner that calls us and they want in San Diego, they want a contractor, we can guide them to that escrow friendly contractor.
You don't charge them for that, do you?
I'm sorry?
You don't charge them for getting the referral, right?
No. It's a free list. It's a free list. That we have so many property owners asking us for that we need to build a list of escrow-friendly contractors. And when they become part of it, we send them a badge. We send them something that they feel proud showcasing in their website, and that it's going to just make them stand out from the crowd. The industry is crowded. It's one color, and this will make them stand out like winners. Just email me, Anna at BuildSafe Escrow, and I'll be so happy to answer all your questions. We can get into a call and talk about your specific project and answer all the questions that you have.
Great. Thank you for being here. This has been
Thank you so much, Paul and team.
I think you're trying to change the industry for the better, and we wish you all the luck.
I hope so. Thank you so much for helping me spread the word out there. Thank you so much for hosting this event.
Thanks, I appreciate it.